Looking for a tour operator when coming to Africa for your safari is one of those things that can be quite daunting. You don't know who to choose from the very large list of the people who are available, and you actually don't know whether these companies are legit and whether they're actually going to give you a good experience or not. In this video, I'm going to be giving you a full summary of the things that you need to have found out before making contact with any tour operator to request them for a quotation. Number one, are they part of a professional association of tour operators in their country? I live in Kenya, and the association of tour operators called Kenya Association of Tour Operators, there it is. That association is the one where all the serious operators are members of. Now, this association is usually very strict in terms of who they allow in, and they usually check whether these operators are legit, whether they have proper documentation, whether they have good vehicles. They basically check for a number of things before allowing those members into the association. And so go and check whether the operator you're thinking about is part of that association. Now, a good way of checking for that is by Googling it and saying Kenya Association of Tour Operators. So let's say you're going to Tanzania, go look for Tanzanian Association of Tour Operators. Google that. You'll find a website that shows that this is the association of those tour operators, and then go look for the members list. Now look at whether the company that you want to go with is on that list. Number two is, do they have vehicles, and are those vehicles branded? Now, vehicle branding is one of the ways of showing that this company is actually invested in giving you a good experience. And the reason why this is because if a vehicle is branded, it means that it's only used by that tour operator for their operations. If it's not branded, there are one of two things going on. The first is they probably don't own that vehicle and they have leased it from another company, and so they probably are not big, really big enough to be owning their own vehicles. Now those vehicles are normally not very cheap, and so if a vehicle has actually invested in their own transportation and have also branded it, it means that they are actually quite invested in basically being a good tour operator, and they have a lot to lose if they give you a bad experience. So that's the first one. The second scenario would be that they probably have handed you over to another company that is handling transport. So they just organize the tour and they're handing you over to another company. Now, this is not uncommon. It's actually not a bad thing necessarily, but the only thing about it is it may probably indicate that this company is not as well established. And the problem is you don't know those other guys. And so if you have a bad experience with the transportation team, and consider this, the transportation team are the people who you're going to be spending all of your time with. The person who is driving that vehicle is going to be your tour guide for the entire of your time on safari. And so if they're handing you over to a third party, a large part of your experience is going to be affected. So that's a red flag for you right there. Number three, do they have verifiable reviews? Now, a good way of checking whether reviews are genuine is by going on places that it's hard for them to fake reviews. Now, for traveling in Africa, one of the good ways of checking whether a company has legit reviews is checking what people have to say about it on forums like TripAdvisor. TripAdvisor is a really good community that offers lots of information, and people there are really genuine in trying to help you find really good information about tour operators, and you might find that the tour operator that you want to use has been listed there. So just Google the name, like let's say the tour operator name, then TripAdvisor, and see what kind of reviews are there. Now, it's most likely that if someone had a really bad experience, they most likely have flagged it on TripAdvisor. And so if you find many of those, it gives you a good opportunity to just knock that particular operator out of your list. Number four, the fourth thing that you probably need to check before contacting this tour operator is whether they have an office. Now, obviously, if they have a website, they probably have indicated where their office is. But the next step you need to go about it is check whether their office is listed on Google Maps. So just go on Google Maps and just type the name of that tour operator. See whether their office pops up on a Google Maps search. And with that Google Maps search, it may be also useful to see whether the location where they have put on the website is the same as what is on the Google Maps pin. that may be an indicator of whether they're actually serious. Now, because companies that are more established will make sure that their Google Map location is verifiable. And so that's one of the things that will be a red flag if there's an inconsistency between what place they have stated to be their location and the actual location that they actually have on Google Maps. Number 5, do they have a website? And how does that website look? And how clear is the information on that website? Now, websites are a good way of checking whether a company is forthright and forthcoming with information, because if they have not listed clearly the kind of tours that they give you, if they send you a really long email indicating what tours they have, but some of those things are not clearly indicated, or at least probably a bit documented on their website, it may be a bit of a red flag for you to look out for. It's not necessarily a terrible thing if they have not indicated the exact itinerary on their website, but they have sent you that on email. But it may be a red flag if there are a lot of inconsistencies. If their website is not very clear, it may be that they are not as established as you would expect, and so they may not have invested in making the information on their website clear and allowing clients to be able to review them before contacting them directly. So that's something you need to find as a red flag if the information on their website is not very clear. Now, if they don't have a website at all, that's also a red flag for you, because in this day and age, websites are really easy to create, and most of these tour operators know that the main way that people are going to be contacting them is through the internet. So if they do not have a website, that's a red flag that you need to look out for. Number 6 is whether they have clear and consistent contacts. Now, the contacts that they provide, that would be their email address and their phone numbers. Are those contacts consistent across the different places where they are found on the internet? That their Google Maps location gives the same contact as the website, as probably a listing on places like Safari Booking. A company that is established will streamline their communications to ensure that the contacts that they provide on all different medias are consistent. Coming to Africa can be a daunting task if you've never been here before, and so if you want to find information on how to choose a tour operator, how to choose the country that you're going to go to, and the process of choosing that operator from beginning to end, then I have a very descriptive long video for you that will allow you to understand the entire process, so that as you go about it, it's going to be clear what you need to do, the questions you need to ask, and the steps you need to follow to ensure that you're going to have the very best experience when choosing your tour operator and coming to Africa on safari. So if that's something you're interested in, check out the video right there.